Yo,
Yeah.
what's going on, baby? It is
going on?
a good day.
Right.
Anytime the view gets owned, it's a good day. You hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I don't watch the show. I used to watch it sometimes, but I don't watch it. It's been a long time for me to say I've watched it.
Got to be the worst show on the internet, on TV. I mean, so apparently Tim Scott leaves the View speechless after confrontation. So I'm glad, because everybody on that show is about the woke movement. So I want to see what Tim says, because the whole thing was going on with Tim and the View. They were trying to say that, oh, you are privileged black, so you can't really say that you have beat all the stereotypes and have beat what was said about you as a black man and running for president. And so they were big on, they would keep trying to say like he ain't come through the mud. So I want to hear what he say, because I bet that's how he gonna own them. I bet that's how he gonna own them.
Let's listen.
Republican presidential candidate Tim Scott facing some of his harshest liberal media critics head on. The South Carolina senator joined the Women of the View moments ago to make his case for the White House, and Scott's appearance comes after a series of racially charged attacks from many of the show's liberal co-hosts.
You are the first black senator elected in the South since the Reconstruction. That would be about 114 years. Yet you say that your life disproves leftist lies. And
Yes.
My question to you is, I'm the exception, right? You're the exception. Maybe even Miss Whoopi Goldberg is the exception.
Oh, she's definitely the exception.
But we are not the rule. And so when it comes to racial inequality, it persists in 5 core aspects of life in the U.S. Economics, education, healthcare, criminal justice, and housing. At nearly every turn, these achievements were fought, threatened, and erased, most often by white violence. You have indicated that you don't believe in systemic racism. What is your definition of systemic racism?
Let me answer the question that you've asked
Or does it even exist in your mind?
Let me answer the question this way. One of the things I think about, and one of the reasons why I'm on the show, is because of the comments that were made, frankly, on this show, that the only way for a young African-American kid to be successful in this country is to be the exception and not the rule. That is a dangerous, offensive, disgusting message to send to our young people today, that the only way to succeed is by being the exception. I will tell you that if my life is the exception, I can't imagine.
But it is.
But it's not, actually. It's
been 114 years.
Yeah, so the fact of the matter is, we've had an African-American president, African-American vice president. We've had 2 African-Americans to be secretaries of the state.
Kaylee, just one of his many incredibly thoughtful, reasoned, prepared comments throughout his time there on The View.
It was phenomenal what Senator Scott did. He came locked and loaded with facts.
He did.
Came across good-natured, charming, but strong. He went on to say, just after that clip, not only have we had a black president, currently black vice president, he said, I have a black police chief in my community, black head of highway patrol. There are black men and women who are anchors at ABC, CBS, NBC, ESPN, Fox.
I love the charisma. I love how he can go on that show and let y'all know where I stand. Not an ounce of emotion, but also have charisma and cool about the whole thing.
Yeah. Practice.
A lot of practice.
And I mean, being gifted in that area, and I guess with the mindset of trying to be, walking in love and professionalism. And then when you know what you know, you can't do nothing but, I guess, be at ease, sometimes with your approach, because you know what you know, and you're coming with facts.
Joy, I would love for Tim Scott to be president also. We know it's going to be Trump and DeSantis between this one, but I would love for Tim to be the president of the U.S. That would be dope.
Okay.
I
don't know much about him. I haven't looked into him yet.
I understand. He, to me, would do the thing that Obama was supposed to do, but he seemed like he would put stuff into place, things that really work for black people, unlike what Obama did, which is not too much. He would be somebody who, if he got in office, you'll have a lot of people of color would switch and come over to the conservative party because of him. I'm 100%. 100%. So I guess on the rest of this clip, are they just? No, let me hit play.
News. And then he goes on to say we have black unemployment under 5% for the first time under a Republican president, 95% high school graduation rate. And he said yesterday's exception is today's rule. Sonny Hostin looked at him speechless. Nothing to say, because those are facts. Those are undeniable what he said.
Let's go.
And then they were only left to, in the next block, for some reason, Whoopi and Sonny hugged and like cuddled. It was very bizarre. I mean, look at that. Very odd. And then they shouted, one of them, systemic racism. So he did so well because he showed up with facts. He's so positive, so optimistic. But the women of The View, they continue to lie about Ron DeSantis. Anna Navarro said that he doesn't want to teach black history, which another host on that show has had to apologize before because it's an outright lie. So they may have a defamation issue on their hands there. And not only that, another host said Ron DeSantis isn't conservative. I don't know what they drink over at The View, but it's something imaginary.
And let's just watch a clip of that guy, of one of the moments referencing Governor DeSantis.
You think Disney is the radical left?
Well, I'm talking about
No, but do you think Disney's radical left?
I think Disney and Ron have been in a combat zone for a number of months over what I thought was the right issue as it relates to our young kids and what they're being indoctrinated with. I thought he started off on the right foot on that issue. It is 100%.
Well, of course.
No, not here. I'm sorry, sir. Do not boo. This is the
Y'all are woke. Of course, y'all gonna hate it. Let me let her go.
view. We accept. We don't have to believe everything people say.
Okay.
I'm glad. Yes, we don't want the kids indoctrinated with that. Just because y'all want that.
He was so cool, calm, and collected.
I love it.
I was getting agitated just sitting here watching it.
Whoopi.
Because what really gets
Get out of here,
me,
Whoopi.
what really gets me is people have all this information, but it's not backed by facts.
No.
Or they have a twisted perception of what the truth is.
Yeah.
And still aren't backing it with real hard, solid evidence.
I wonder what percentage of the world gets all their emotion from watching The View. I know a couple people. So the emotion comes from The View. There's a lot of people that's follow that show and they get their views from The View.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It shouldn't be called The View. It should be called The Block.
Okay, so good for Whoopi, I guess, chastising the audience. We don't boo here. She could have added all the vitriol in this show will come from the hosts. Thank you very much. That's kind of how they roll over at The View. And speaking of the hosts of that show, I did notice that there was one conspicuous absence today around that table. Joy Behar wasn't there. One of the people who was lecturing recently to Tim Scott and Clarence Thomas about systemic racism, something that she, I guess, believes that she understands as a rich white woman in New York, as opposed to those two men who grew up in the South as black men. And I think perhaps Joy Behar could have benefited from sitting there and listening and maybe learning something from Tim Scott today, but she was playing hooky, apparently.
Yeah, and you know, she's always off every Monday, Kennedy, but to John Roberts' point earlier on this network...
Maybe she's on President Biden's schedule.
This is a big deal, you know? This is a sitting senator, and he's a presidential candidate, and it's also the subject and the target of much of her ill-founded, absolutely racist, totally nonsensical, fantastical comments about him. So you would think she would make an exception and show up for work.
Why would you? I mean, she would then have to be confronted with the truth, and the truth is her comments were incredibly bigoted and divisive. And, you know, that has become par for the course on The View. But it's very interesting because as Sonny Hostin was sort of outlining structural systemic racism in this country, you know, I'm listening to all those things. And it's not that I disagree with her. But what I see is the common element, especially in education, housing, and healthcare, is too much government. So if government is creating the systemic racism, then the cure for that is not more government. It is getting government out of the way. So people from every community, every background, every neighborhood can have a chance to succeed. But as long as the government is so deeply entrenched, don't expect any of those things to change and don't expect positive outcomes.
Right.
Molly, she hit the nail on the head, because that's sort of what The View, in my opinion, is representing today and always, which is a fallback and a knee-jerk of these woke talking points, or these liberal left knee-jerk talking points, without the thought behind it as to the rationale or the policy. And when confronted by actual facts or statistics, including the truth that throwing money at something doesn't actually work, they simply falter and then revert right back to their talking points that will likely make the headlines of the self-apologizing and self-amplifying left-wing media.
Yeah,
Yep.
going into that situation, this is a GOP candidate running for president, an opportunity there to reach out to people that he ordinarily wouldn't have a chance to reach out to. And you mentioned he did an excellent job with a lot of facts and a lot of information. The one thing the big challenge, I think, is getting past this big discussion on race, where he can just talk about being among this big swath of candidates and stand out. So first he's got to get past the, just kind of pushing back against every idea, every Democratic talking point, everything that's thrown at him. And then the issue at hand, where they had previously said all these terrible things, and untangling all of that. So how does he make a dent forward and say, I'm your candidate, and make progress in that direction? I think it was a great opportunity for him, and he did perfectly fine there and availed himself well. But how does he stand out as a candidate is the next big question.
Yeah, I thought he showed incredible grace under the pressure
Yes.
of, again, what was thoughtless,
She
irrational,
said it perfectly.
ad hominem attacks.
Grace.
And that's what it is when you are having to deal with people of different ideologies.
Yeah.
And then you already know the way a school of thought, these people who have taken upon that school of thought, you pretty much know how they're going to be. So you're going to you've mastered your response pretty much, because it's all going to be the same.
Yep.
So you can go cool, calm, and collected.
Facts will always smoke out emotions. Because Whoopi, what I saw from her in Whoopi, I'm gonna say I saw this even more than what's the other young lady who I saw, the light skinned lady, Sunny. But what I saw from Whoopi had nothing but emotion. If you look at every point, something was emotional. Let me wrap around, that's emotional. Let me get excited, that's emotional. Let's point to Whoopi shake her head, emotional. I'm like, bro, people follow this woman to the T and learn emotionalism. That's all it is. That's all the left is. Just a beating heart with no information.
I just keep commending the conservatives who go over into their domain and, allow themselves to have discussions with them, knowing that, they come from a different perspective. And many times they're going to show, a higher level of negative emotion than emotion that's going to be beneficial just to have a conversation.
Oh, for real.
So, it's cool.
I'm glad.
It's cool.
I'm glad.
Because those who can do it are doing it.
He can.
That's all I can say. Those who are doing it are doing it.
Could you see? Well, I could see DeSantis going over and trying to being on the show. But could you imagine Trump going on that show?
No, please. He wouldn't even go. He already know himself. You think he'll subject himself to that foolery?
Trump get on there and say
to that nonsense.
Are stupid.
He wouldn't even be able to do it. He ain't even gonna put himself.
Everybody would get roasted.
His officials or whoever is around him be like, Mr. President, sir, I know we respect the fact that you may want to go over there and say what you got to say, but we're just gonna tell you, you can't even do it. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. you trying to win the people back over with having a better personality and how you respond to those things.
Joy,
so.
He'd be like, listen, everybody's in here are clowns and buffoons. Buffoons.
Ooh, boy.
He would be roasted. Oh my God, that would be hilarious. I would love to see that though.
You want to have a conversation with the person who may not, view the same thought as you, or have different perspectives on how to solve a problem, because that's what it really is.
Correct.
It's two different perspectives on how to solve a problem, whereas I still feel one is more beneficial than the other.
Yeah.
But to be able to sit down and discuss it, that's where the problem seems to come in, based off what we've seen.
Right. And we don't need any
kudos for Tim Scott.
We don't need any more emotional presidencies for a very long time. I don't want to see another emotional environment for the next 10 years.
Well, I don't want to see another corrupt, completely what's being revealed. But that's a whole nother video.
I told you my song, Jory. They do what they want to do, say what they want to say, live how they want to live, play how they want to play, dance how they want to dance, kick and snack a Fred, the Biden family. They do what they want to do, say what they want to say, live how they want to live, play how they want to play.
Ooh, okay. All right, guys.
We're going to do us a little songy song.
You going to do you a little songy song.
Bow!
Not me.
Yes, and you're going to rap it.
All right, guys. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. We'll see you in the next video. Subscribe to the channel and share this video.
We appreciate y'all so much. Bye-bye.